Hello! I'm going to read more of what's coming up. Where is this story going to go this episode?
こんなところでどうされたのですか？
君か。何でもない。考え事をするのにここが少し心地よかっただけだ。
今日の準備はすべて手配が終わっています。あとはお茶でも飲みながらくつろいで待とうではありませんか。
すまん。君にいつも面倒なことを全て押し付けている。
どうか私をもっと頼ってはいただけませんか。私はあなたの妻です。
無論君にはいつも助けられているし感謝もしている。だからこそ私は私の仕事に専念できる。
分かっています。お仕事のこと、そしてお父様の遺産の話ですね。
君には関係のないことだ。
大丈夫です。あなたすべてうまくいきます。あなたのお仕事がうまくいかなかったことはありません。
As he softly cuddled close to Krause's shoulder. She complimented Krause on his hard work, but Natsuki knew better than anyone that his work wasn't going well. Krause's project was something like a seesaw where a large amount of money swings. Big investments can lead to massive payoffs, but like large seesaws, they tend to shake a lot while moving very slowly, instead of showing immediate results. At times, it's possible to make further investments so that the seesaw inclines faster towards the side you want. Of course, you'd only do that if you were confident you'd be able to recover all your investments in the not-so-distant future. However, the seesaws Krause chose never turned out as he would have liked them to. His foresight wasn't wrong, but the times were moving sluggishly. They never managed to catch up with him. For example, think of a literal seesaw placed in a park. It's a really popular item, so there's always someone playing on it, and you've got to wait a long time for your turn. Let's say that one day you spotted one of those seesaws that was completely unused, and you raced to grab it first and have it all to yourself. However, unless someone got on the opposite side of the seesaw, you wouldn't be able to play on it. What if lots of time passed, and nobody came to the opposite end? Seesaws are popular, so if you wait long enough, a companion will surely show you. But Krause noticed something. The weather's getting worse, so nobody's coming outside to play. But seesaws are popular, so someone will surely come eventually. If he vacated his place because of the worsening weather, it would certainly be snatched away. Once again, he'd end up longingly gazing from a distance at someone else having fun on the seesaw. On one side of the seesaw, he continued to wait patiently, all alone. That was Krause's project and his current situation.
私にもう少しの勇気と自分の先見性を信じる自信があればいつだって失敗はしなかった。
ええ、そうです。あなたの先見性はいつも間違っていません。あなただけがお父様の才覚を受け継いだのです。他の兄弟たちが誰も受け継がなかった天性のものを受け継が。
なのに私はそれを信じられず、いつも臆病に自らの事業を畳んできた。なぜ自分を信じることができない。自分を信じられない男を誰が信じる。誰も信じない。私はいつも敗者の座るべき椅子に自ら座り、親父にもおふくろにも兄弟たちにも笑われる。私はいつになったらこのコンプレックスから解放されるのだ。いつになったら。
As he is the only one who knew. Only she knew of Krause's anguish. As the eldest son of the Ushiromaya family, who would soon be forced to bear an immense responsibility, he couldn't open his pained heart to anyone, and was always getting compared to his father's great enterprises.
あなたが親族会議に専念できるよう、すべての手配を済ませています。すべて。
すまん。親父殿の件は問題ないかね。
はい。源氏と南條先生は 私たちの味方です。あの強欲な兄弟たちを決してお父様には合わせません。
もしもし。はい、合田です。ええ、お任せください。年に一度の大仕事に腕が鳴っております。
In the kitchen, multicolored ingredients were gathered and the preliminary arrangements were promptly being started. Even though it was still morning, the ingredients for dinner were already in saucepans and steaming. Normally, he had to deal with several assorted matters, but on the day of the family conference, he could devote himself entirely to cooking. Goda, who was originally a chef, this was surely the greatest gala occasion of the whole year.
ええ、ディナーには子牛のステーキを。素晴らしい肉がすでに保冷庫で今夜を待ちわびておりますよ。まかないも今夜はぜひ期待してください。
It was rare for Goda to be in this good of a mood towards his fellow servants. Goda bragged about being the Shiromaya family's personal chef, and knowing he was considered worthy to display his excellent cooking at the family conference was his greatest honor.
わかった。任せるのでよろしく頼む。あと、熊沢がそちらにいないか。
熊沢さんですか。先ほど見かけましたが、こちらにはおりません。ゲストハウスの方へ準備に行かれたのではないでしょうか。
また油を売っているのか。いや、結構だ。では引き続きよろしく頼む。
ええ、万事この豪太にお任せを。
Genji placed the telephone back on the receiver, sighing lightly. Genji sighed once again, thinking of Kumasawa, who was probably hiding again even though things were this busy, and the ostentatious Goda, who only felt like doing anything on a day when he could show off.
失礼します。ゲストハウスの各お部屋の準備が整いました。
お嬢様より、
Okay.
お子様方が泊まれるよう4人分の用意をするようにとのご指示を賜りましたが、いかがいたしましょう。
今年は6年ぶりにバトラ様がお見えになるそうだ。お嬢様もいとこ4人で夜更かしをされたいのだろう。準備するように奥様にはお伝えしなくてよい。
そうですね。かしこまりました。
今夜は深夜勤で、そのまま明日は早朝勤か。しんどい2日間になりそうだな。
そういえば台風が直撃するって天気予報で言っていますね。大丈夫でしょうか。
台風がよほどそれない限り、場合によっては親族の皆様方のお帰りの船に響くだろう。親族会議の日程が月曜か火曜あたりまで長引く長丁場になるだろうが、皆くれぐれも粗相のないように頼む。シャノンは焦らぬよう落ち着いて、カノンは愛想よくご挨拶をするように。
はい、注意します。
注意します。
大切なお客様がお越しになられる日だ。くれぐれも粗相がないように。
心得ています。いつだってここには大切なお客様しか訪れません。
カノン、今日は本当の意味で大切なお客様を迎える。心構えを改めるように。
はい。
シャノン、どうした？さっきから何かそわそわしているようだが、何か時間の約束でもあるのか？
いえ、失礼いたしました。
姉さん、今日は大切なお客様がお越しになる日なんだよ。プライベートとは切り離すようにね。
プライベートなんか知りません。
Shan blushed just a bit as he turned her gaze away from the clock. Was it about time for the airplane carrying the family to arrive at Nichima? She tried to hide the fact that her upcoming long-awaited reunion with George was making her heart race. But Kanon, who stood beside her, not behind her, beside her, seemed to see right through her. Beside her. Ah.
シャノン、これを黙って受け取ってくれ。
Inside a bathroom stall, George was practicing something over and over, taking out a small velvet box hidden in his pocket like a quick draw desert gunman.
いや違うな。シャノンは牽引力のある男性が好きなんだ。もっと馬力がある感じじゃないとダメだ。シャノン、これを薬指につけるんだ。命令だよ。ああ、左手とちゃんと言わないと右手にされちゃうかもしれない。いや、シャノンもそこまでかまととじゃないけど。ああ、でも少しは自由意志がないとなんだかその。
As he crossed his arms, muttering, someone knocked on the door. George was snapped back to reality.
お、ジョージ君。大丈夫か？腹の調子でも悪いのか？
ルドルフおじさん。大丈夫です。平気です。ご心配は無用です。
そっか。ならいいんだけどな。無理して力みすぎるなよ。尻が切れちまうぜ。
Rudolph washed his hands, laughing cheerfully as he left. George, realizing that the most embarrassing part hadn't been overheard, relaxed and felt extremely relieved.
キリエ、ローザはまだ来ないのか？
まだよ。遅いわね。
天候調整中だからいいようなものを。これで普段通りのダイヤだったらあいつ乗り遅れちまうぜ。そしたらどうする気なんだあいつ。
ローザさんだっていい年の大人よ。なんとかするわ。兄って人はいくつになっても妹を子供扱いなのね。
親父だっていくつになっても子供だけどな。
だと？俺が子供ならおめえは赤ん坊じゃねえか。ほれほれ、バトラちゃん、高い高い。
やめろ、くすぐって。やめ。
親子ってより悪ガキ仲間って感じね。ほら、いらしたわよ。
おお、ローザさんやないか。マリアちゃん、久しぶりやの。
久しぶり。マリア、お久しぶりですでしょ。言ってごらん。お久しぶりです。
そうや、よく言えたな。ご褒美に飴玉あげような。あれ、どこにしまったんや。
ローザさん、お久しぶりです。マリアちゃんもお久しぶり。
ご無沙汰してます、キリエ姉さん、秀吉兄さんと。あら、バトラ君、大きくなったわね。
いやー今日は会うたびに言われてて恥ずかしいっすよ。
おう、ローザ、遅かったな。飛行機がダイヤ通りだったらギリギリってとこだったぜ。
ごめんなさい、列車の接続がうまくいかなくて。何？また天候調査中なの？
ぼやかないぼやかない。船で6時間も揺られるくらいなら飛行機でほんの30分の方がずっとマシよ。たとえ1時間余計に待たされたって全然早いんだから。
あれがマリアなのか。大きくなったな。成長期か。
前に会ったのは6年前？それは変わるわよ。女は心変わりがあればたった1日でも生まれ変わる生き物よ。
Maria, noticing a big man she didn't recognize mixed in among the relatives, hid behind Rosa's back and glared at Battler.
おいバトラ、挨拶しろい。前にやったのが3歳の時じゃ。初対面も同じだぞ。
3歳じゃ覚えてねえよな。よっ、マリア、久しぶり。大きくなったな。
マリア、バトラお兄ちゃんよ。ルドルフおじさんの息子さん、わかる？おじさんの息子さんが おじさんが息子さん。は
She was obviously on her guard. After all, it was hardly surprising that she'd be scared if a large guy like Bador suddenly started speaking frankly to her. Bador noticed that as well and thought of various ways he might approach her. Then he spotted the candy she had in her hand. It was the jack-o'-lantern sweet Rosa had bought for her.
そっか、10月だからハロウィンか。お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞ。
Normally, trying to snatch a sweet away from a small child will result in them crying and screaming. The adults seemed dubious about Bador's tactics, but Maria looked unexpectedly pleased, her face splitting into a wide grin.
ハロウィン、ほらママ、バトラもハロウィン知ってる。ほらほら。バトラお兄ちゃんと呼びなさい。ごめんね、バトラくん。
いやいや、気にしないっすよ。俺はバトラと呼んでくれ。俺もマリアって呼ぶからな。ほらマリア、ハロウィンだぞ。お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞ。お菓子を
くれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞ。
Cute. From inside her purse, Maria picked out a jack-o'-lantern sweet similar to the one she had in her hand and presented it to Bador. When Bador accepted it, that seemed to be enough to confirm their friendship. The adults were amazed at how good children can be at getting along with each other. Maria had been throwing a tantrum because she wanted a Halloween festival, so Bador, who knew about trick-or-treating, must have felt like an ally. Her defensive posture from before was completely gone. Now she was all cheery, as though they'd been friends for decades.
そうだな。日本じゃハロウィンってマイナーなイベントだよな。仮装行列で練り歩くなんて向こうのニュースではよく見るけど、日本じゃ見たことないぜ。
マリアも仮装したかった。仮装していとこみんなでお菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞってやりたかった。
そっかそっか。今度俺と一緒にやろうな。マリアだったら何の仮装をして練り歩きたい？
魔女ベアトリーチェ。
We're back here again.
おや、お嬢様、こんなところに。奥様が探しておいででしたよ。
探されたくねえからこんなところにいるんだぜ。どうせみなりは大丈夫かとか、言葉遣いをちゃんとするようにとか、お小言が言いたいだけに違いないぜ。
違いありません。
私はさ、なぜか親族会議の日になるとこの魔女様が気になるんだよ。
ほう、それはまたどうしてでございましょう。
親族会議ってのはじい様に連なる全ての一族老頭が集まる日だ。今年は6年ぶりにバトラも来るそうじゃねえか。そんな感じでさ、何十年かぶりに今までずっと姿を現さなかった親族が
ほう、そんな親族がおりますでしょうか。
ベアトリーチェ様だよ。素性は誰も知らない。あるいは大昔のじい様の愛人なのか、その子孫がひょっこりと現れて授けた黄金を返せなんて言い出すかもしれないぜ。
クラウス様たちは親方様の遺産問題で今年こうも魔女の黄金の話で盛り上がっては、黄金を与えた魔女本人がそろそろおいでになってもおかしくありませんね。
熊沢さんはさ、辞めたり勤めたりと忙しいけど、源氏さん並みに昔からここに出入りしてるわけでしょ。ベアトリーチェのこともっと知ってるんじゃないの？
さて思い出そうにもこの老いぼれ、今朝の朝食すらも思い出せませんので。
熊沢さんはいっつもそういう言い方で逃げるけど、何か知ってそうなんだよな。知ってて物陰で笑ってるみたいな陰湿な雰囲気が時々するぜ。
これは手厳しい。 隠し事など何もしておりません。私から申し上げられることは、ベアトリーチェ様は黄金の魔女であられて、この島の
じい様の受け売りかよ。給料もらってるとはいえ、じい様の妄言に付き合うのも大変だな。
ただこれだけは申し上げられます。
何？
六軒島は太古の昔、小豆島と呼ばれて恐れられてきました。小豆は悪食がなまったものと言われ、本当は悪食島と呼ばれていたのだと漁民たちの間では伝えられておりました。
前にも聞いたよ。この辺は暗礁が多くて海難事故が多かったから、領民たちが恐れてむやみに近づかなかったって話だろ。
悪食島には悪霊が住み着いていて、太古の昔から人々の魂を喰らい続けてきました。この島に関わり命を奪われた人間はあまりにも多いのです。
それを旅の修験者だかなんだかが例の社を作って鎮魂したんで収まったってんじゃなかったっけ？うさんくせえ話だぜ。
その鎮魂の社はこの夏、暗き闇を引き裂く紫色の不気味な雷で打ち砕かれたとか。
熊沢さん、その話好きだな。確かに鎮魂の社が落雷でなくなっちまうなんて不気味だが、まあもともとオンボロだったしな。ちょっと高い波にでもさらわれたんじゃねえのかな。
眠りから目覚めた悪食島の悪霊がベアトリーチェ様を呼び寄せたのです。もしベアトリーチェ様が親族会議に訪れられるようなことがあったなら。
あったなら
Kumasawa fell silent. Jessica was pressing her to keep going, so that gap felt strange and eerie. When Kumasawa noticed that she had Jessica plenty scared with her silence, she grinned proudly.
はてさて、どんなことになるやら。
へえ、そいつは素敵じゃないかよ。
でしょ？たまには優雅な時間を得て、あなたの心を豊かにするのもあなたの仕事に役に立つんじゃないかしら。
だな。心と財布は豊かじゃなきゃいけねえ。わかったよ。その日は開けておくことにする。予約を頼むぜ。
わかったわ。絶対よ。
ああ、よろしく頼む。愛してるぜ、キリエ。
After kissing the receiver, Rudolph hung up. Before his seat, there were several executives with their sleeves rolled up, eagerly awaiting the end of that phone call.
すまん、待たせたぜ。アメリカから連絡は来たか？
はい。外線にデイル渡辺弁護士からです。おつなぎします。
結局のところ、感触はどうなんだ？
それが一つ芳しくないようでして、先方は裁判をも辞さないつもりのようです。
やっぱりごまかしきれねえかな。つないでくれ。
わかりました。すぐに。
The executive ordered that the external line be transferred to the secretarial office. At once, the phone in front of Rudolph rang.
もしもし。ハローハロー。お待たせしました。後宮です。どうもどうも。いかがですか、そちらは。
Hello, President 後宮。挨拶は抜きで本題に入りましょう。いいニュースと悪いニュースがありますが、どちらを先にしますか？
悪いニュースが先がいいな。デザートがないと頑張れないたちなんだ。
わかりました。悪いニュースは先方が当方を告発する準備に入ったということで、つい先日類似した裁判で原告が圧勝する判決が出されました。被告側も当方が主張するのとほぼ同じ内容で論戦していたのですが、全てにおいて却下されました。残念ながら このまま法廷に臨めば当方の主張はことごとく却下される可能性が極めて高いでしょう。
例の裁判全滅だったか。うちより有利な条件だったと思ってたんだが、そりゃ辛いな。で、いいニュースは？
先方の幹部と接触できました。先方に当方の立ち位置を説明し、先方のブランドイメージを侵害する意図がないことを説明し、理解を得ることができました。先方は近日中に条件提示を行い、それらの履行が行われるなら告発を見送ると約束しました。
感触は？
取締役会のナンバー2による発言です。正直非常に厳しいものになると予想されます。当方の想定では避けられないものとして、社名変更、ブランド名変更、交渉の余地のあるものとして和解金額、大手新聞への謝罪広告掲載、それ
うちに潰れろと一言言やいいのに、周りくどい奴らだぜ。
先方は近年2代目社長に交代したばかりで、まだ足固めが終わっていません。当方が徹底抗戦した場合、現社長に失点を与えたい勢力が何らかの利的工作をしかねないと懸念しています。そのため先方トップも本件を速やかに解決したいという思惑があるようです。そのため迅速な和解のために多少の条件緩和を引き出せる余地も残っているかもしれません。
いずれにせよ、とんでもねえ金が必要になるか。
その覚悟は必要です。そしてそれでも懲罰的賠償金よりははるかに安いかと。
ありがとう先生。また進展があったら連絡してください。先生は高級鳥だからヨタ話もできねえ。サンキューサンキュー。グッバイ。
Rudolph hung up the phone. The executive sitting in the reception seat seemed to have guessed at the contents of that discussion.
聞こえたか野郎ども。まあそうじるとだ。金さえ積みや堪忍してやるぜってわけだ。あとは金の高だけを争点にすりゃいい。
しかし社長、渡辺氏の示した和解金の想定額はあまりにも膨大です。それだけの余裕はありません。
こんなことになるって分かってたら高くかなんて始めんじゃなかったぜ。
3年しのげれば資金的危機は脱出できる計算でした。まさかここで刺されるなんて本当についてない。
ホップステップジャンプのステップでこけちまったんだもんな。泣けるぜ。
メインバンクから金を引っ張るしかありません。
銀行はまずいな。連中は勝ち馬にしか金を出さん。景気は上向いてるが銀行に弱みは見せられねえ。
社長、妨害に資金はありますか？我々の把握していない資金です。
よせやい。俺がそういう男に見えるかよ。俺の財布の中身は全てお前らにさらしてるぜ。そこにある帳簿が我が社の全てだ。
なら金策が必要です。数百万ドル単位を引っ張れるスポンサーが大至急必要です。
社長の交友関係で何とかなりませんでしょうか？社長
ああ、落ち着けてめえら。金策は俺が何とかする。お前らはガタガタせずに業務を維持しろ。金さえ積めば向こうは許すと言ってるんだ。すでに俺たちはアジアに太いパイプを持ってる。いろいろ響くだろうが取引は維持できる。要は金さえ積めりゃ全て解決できる問題なんだ。見てろ、俺が全て解決する。お前らを路頭に迷わせなんかしねえぞ。大船に乗った気でいろい。無事に解決したらお前ら全員をシャンパンタワーでねぎらってやるぜ。約束する。だから黙って俺についてこい。いいな。
The airplane suddenly shook, probably due to turbulence. Rudolph was jostled awake. He'd woken early that morning and ended up drifting off to sleep while resting in his seat.
大丈夫？まだだいぶ眠いんじゃないの？このところだいぶ仕事が忙しかったようだし。
仕事が忙しいなんて大いに結構じゃねえか。俺が暇になっちまったら俺たち明日から路頭に迷うぜ。
そうね。バトラ君も帰ってきたんだから二人で物乞いすればいいって問題じゃないわよ。
そうだな。 6年ぶりに家族が揃ったんだからな。家族水入らずで過ごせるよう課長が頑張らねえとな。
When he looked out the window, he saw that the airplane had already started to drop in altitude considerably. The fishing boats, which had only looked like black grains a short while ago, were starting to become clearly recognizable.
親父に土下座してげんこつ一発で1000万借りられるなら1ダースくらいもらっときてえところなんだがな。さもなきゃとっととお隠れになってくれりゃいいんだが散々すねをかじって今度は遺産目当てか。俺は地獄行きだな。そりゃこんな俺に親父も会いたくはないだろうよ。
まさか今年も親族会議にお出にならないつもりですか
な。Anjo looked at Kinzo's face, sighing. Kinzo's eyes remained rooted to a strange book in magic.
ハゲタカどもの議論に加わるつもりはない。好きに我が骨のしゃぶり方でも議論するがよかろう。実にくだらぬ。
やれやれ、困ったものですな。
Anjo shook his head slightly. To him, children and grandchildren were lovely things. He believed watching them grow was the only way to truly enjoy old age. So Kinzo's words were very saddening to Anjo.
この部屋を出るべき時が来れば私は姿を現す。あれが姿を未だ現さぬようにな。
When Kinzo raised his face, his gaze pointed at the portrait of the witch, which was respectably displayed on the wall. Kinzo's mind didn't dwell for a moment on the fact that today was the family conference, where all of his beloved relatives would gather. It was filled only by the face of the witch in the oil painting, who never smiled except inside the portrait. Everybody knew that interrupting Kinzo when he talked about Beatrice would trigger his wrath.
私は今日、ある儀式を執り行う。
それは何ですかな？
儀式というよりは博打に近い。なぜならリスクを負わぬ魔法に奇跡は宿らぬからだ。
Anjo had heard Kinzo say this many times before. He might even call it a pet phrase of Kinzo's. Kinzo apparently believed that magic and miracles could occur if you gambled your own fate with a certain amount of risk and triumphed.
かつて黄金のギャンブラーと言われた金蔵さんがいつお迎えが来てもおかしくないそのご老体で一体どんな博打に挑みますやらこれは見ものですな。
なるほど。研究を尽くした秘術の儀式も魔法にたけぬお前にかかれば博打呼ばわりか。まあいい。奇跡を信じる私が勝てばお前の目には水鏡にしか見えなかったであろう我が研究のすべてがこの日に結実したことをはっきりと理解できるだろう。お前が勝てば見たままの通りいつ迎えが来てもおかしくない年寄りの水鏡に終わるだけだ。
一体どんなギャンブルを始めるやら。あなたの友人としてその賭けに、いや儀式でしたか。その儀式にあなたが勝てるよう心からお祈りするだけです。
感謝する。
そういえば金蔵さん、今年の親族会議には懐かしい客がおられるそうですな。
何
？For once, Kinzo reacted to Nanjo's words and turned around.
ほら、ルドルフさんのところのバトラ君です。6年ぶりにおいでになるそうじゃありませんか。きっと立派になっていますよ。
なんだ、バトラか。6年ぶり程度の客人など懐かしいなどと呼びはせぬ。
After hearing Battler's name and making a disappointed and ill-humored expression, Kinzo turned his back again.
金蔵さんにとっての6年など、この部屋で研究に没頭すればあっという間のことでしょうからな。
本当に懐かしい客はあるいは訪れるかもしれん。すべてはルーレットの出目次第だ。すでにルーレットは回り始めている。ルージュかノワールか。今宵ルーレットがどんな奇跡を見せてくれるのか楽しませてもらおうではないか。配当は大きいぞ。そして負ける気はせぬ。ベアトリーチェよ、我が賭けを受けるがいい。
At that time, the telephone on the table rang. The piercing sound seemed to irritate Kinzo, and he picked up the receiver to preserve the silence as much as he could.
何事か。私は忙しい。
源氏でございます。親族の皆様方が到着な。
だからどうしたというのだ。適当に茶でも出せばよい。
かしこまりました。そのようにいたします。
Kinzo hung up the phone rudely. Looking at that, Nanjo sighed yet again and shifted his attention outside the window. As he is now, I doubt Kinzo would pay any heed to any sort of guest. Could any guest possibly make Kinzo come out when the time comes, as he said? Kinzo had a single person in mind, but that was a guest who certainly wouldn't appear. Nanjo stared at the witch of the portrait with her impassive expression, unable to decide whether she was smiling or sad, and then gazed up at the wood-colored sky. Butterflies. Weird. Oh, what? Excuse me? So, are all the pieces in place? Shall we line them all up again and start a new game?
何か問題は？
ねえよ。
Oh, what? The witch looked at him challengingly while elegantly smoking her pipe. Battler. He just rudely shrugged his shoulders, as if he didn't care what he did. But she did. He didn't meet her eyes, but that didn't mean he didn't intend to challenge her. It showed his clear determination to never be taken in by his tricks. It was an expression of his determination to fight.
まさか無策ではあるまいな。
Okay.
お前の出方がわからねえ以上、策も何もねえぜ。好きに先手を取ればいいじゃねえか。
What's this?
もちろんそうさせていただくぞ。お前の守りをいかに崩すか。
Crazy.
なんてで詰めるか。わらわの腕の見
Is
せ
this
ど
some
ころ
kind
よ。
of game?
お前がどんな手で来ようが、俺はお前を信じない。その一点を俺が貫き通す限り、俺に負けはない。ってことはだ、このゲームはお前に勝てないようにできてるぜ。
そうかもしれん。
Weird.
しかしな、
It's
ゲ
pretty
ームを
weird.
何度繰り返すかはわらわが決めるぞ。そしてわらわが勝ち、そなたが負けを認めるまで何度でも繰り返されるぞ。つまりこれは災難よ。そなたがわらわに屈服するまで続く永遠の災難。
Oh, okay.
そなたがわらわを魔女の存在を認めるまで永遠に続く。
なら、
He still doesn't
俺もお
believe
前が
you.
根負けするまで何度でも無限に付き合ってやるぜ。意地の張り合いってやつでは負けた例がねえんだ。
どこぞの魔女にでも入れ知恵されたか？まあよい。
コタクは聞き飽きたぜ。さあ、おっ始めやがれ。
さあ始めようではないか。 そなたの指し手はすでに知り尽くしておる。手の内を知られた守りなどたかが知れておる。同じ手でしのぎきれると思うでないぞ。
ベアトリーチェ、一つだけ最初に言っておくことがある。
なんだ。
お前が何をのたまおうと自由だ。だが俺が信じるかどうか常に俺が自分で決める。貴様の魔法がどれほどのものだったとしても俺の魂は屈しない。これは俺への拷問だと？違うね。
ならば何だというのか。
これはお前への拷問なのさ。お前がいつ俺に屈し諦めるか、それまで繰り返される拷問なのさ。
面白いかな、その例えやよし。互いを苛み合う拷問とは実に面白い。さーて始めようではないか。後ろ宮バトラー。
Oh. Burn it. Okay. Here we go again. I think. Every year, the relatives visiting Rokkenjima would let out a sigh of admiration at the rose garden that first greeted them. They would stop there to chat about the rose's beauty and how well they were blooming that year. In the midst of all this, there was a single unhealthy rose, and Maria became overwhelmed with dejection at its condition. But George used his quick wits, and, saying that everything would be fine if they took care of this poor thing, marked it with a candy wrapper and immediately restored Maria's good mood. Then Battler, with whom she'd been getting along well since that morning, started talking about Halloween. This was such a favorite topic of Maria's that she began playing around energetically again. To Maria, that marshmallow jack-o'-lantern candy brought by her mother was probably the greatest sort of treasure. They seemed to have brought several, and she demanded a trick-or-treat from every person she met, giving them candy instead of the other way around.
マリアはどうしてこんなにハロウィンが好きなんだろうな。日本人には一つ馴染みにくいイベントだと思ってたんだが。
仮装行列で練り歩く子供のお祭りだからじゃねえのか。普段と違う格好をしてはしゃぎ合うってのは楽しいぜ。
多分僕はもう少しディープな理由によるものだと思うな。何しろ魔女のマリアちゃんだからね。
そういや飛行場でもマリアは仮装するなら魔女になりたいって言っていたっけ。マリアって魔女が好きなんだ。
ええ、大好きよ。困ったくらいに。
まあまあ、あのくらいの年頃はファンタジックな存在に憧れるもんですから。
せめてテレビアニメのヒロインに憧れるくらいなら可愛いんだけど。
Judging by Rose's appearance, she wasn't very happy about her daughter's love for witches as a mother. The cousins other than Battler seemed to realize this, and they shrugged, wearing stiff smiles.
ほーん。魔女好きだとハロウィンも好きになるって論法なのか？わかんなきゃ本人に聞けばいいか。おい、マリア！ハロウィンと魔女って何か関係あるのか？
As Battler asked that, George and Jessica let out a stifled as if they were trying to stop him, but too late. Maria might have been waiting for just that question. After beaming for an instant, her expression turned a little mean, as if to say, "You're totally clueless, aren't you? Not again?" Which the face of a hobbyist who's been ticked off by an outsider saying something stupid about their favorite subject. No!
一年を通して生まれ、育ち、老いて死んで、そして再び蘇ると考えていたの。
納得だな。春のか弱いポカポカした太陽がどんどん次第に痩せ衰えていく様をなるほど太陽の一生と考えるのもうなずけるぜ。
だから彼らは10月の最後に太陽は死に、死の国で体を休めて冬至の日に再び蘇ると考えたの。それで太陽が1年の生涯を終えて死ぬその日を大晦日サビンと呼んでお祝いしたの。
再び日照時間が長くなりだす冬至の日を太陽の復活の日とする考え方はとても面白いよね。古代の人々がいかに太陽を神聖視していたかがわかるエピソードだよ。
で、それが魔女とどう関係があるんだ
Seemed that my casual urging forward had slightly infuriated Maria. She glared at me with eyes that told me to shut up while she explained. Maria seemed to be having a blast as she talked, so I decided not to interrupt.
10月と11月の狭間は生と死が最も近くなる。ケルト人たちはこの時期に聖者の世界と死者やこの世ならざる者の世界が最も近づき、異界の住人たちがたくさん訪れると信じてたの。日本でいうお盆みたいなものだよ。
At the time, people believed that souls returning to the physical world would go into people's houses or possess people and do bad things. So, in order to avoid harm, they performed rituals. One of those was to imitate creepy monsters and scare the souls back, which was apparently a way to avoid being possessed.
その部分がお祭りになっていって仮装行列になってったんだな。マリアは本当に物知りだぜ。
ほんまやな。わしもハロウィンに備えな言われがあるなんて知らんかったわ。
しかしそれのどこにお菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞってのが出てくるんだ。
Her knowledge was so extensive that the adults had suddenly started listening too. Maria, who was normally treated like the youngest of all the time, puffed out her chest with pride. Saying that this was just a kids' discussion, Rosa suggested that the adults go on ahead and set their luggage down at the guest house. But nobody else agreed to go with her, and she let out a heavy sigh.
トリックオアトリートは単なるお遊び。本来のケルト人たちの儀式とは何の関係もない。
She sure knows a lot about this.
それは後にキリスト教の習慣が混合してできたものなの。でもマリアは本来のハロウィンの姿とはそうあるべきだと思うの。
According to Maria, the souls of the dead weren't the only ones who visited from the non-human world. There were also spirits with intimate connections to people's everyday lives. Humans could receive favors from those spirits, so they'd managed to gain magnificent blessings as well as a year's worth of good crops.
つまりハロウィンってのは収穫祭の意味も少しはあったわけか。
なるほどな。言われてみりゃ10月ってのは季節的にもいろいろ節目って気がするぜ。日本の4月のちょうど反対側だもんな。なるほど。キリはいいかもしれねえな。
そしてね、魔女たちはね、その時期に魔女集会サバトを開いたの。魔女たちは豊かな恵みをもたらしてくれた精霊たちに感謝しねぎらったの。
ハロウィンの仮装は向こうから来る客人たちの模倣。つまり彼らにお菓子を施すのは一年の収穫への感謝の気持ちがあってもいいわけだね。
ジョージお兄ちゃんの言う通
り。つまりハロウィンはこの世とあの世の交流のある時期ってわけなんだな。それでつまり魔女たちにとってはそういう世界の客人たちと交流できる大切な機会、そう言いたいわけか。
バトラの言う通り。だからね魔女たちや悪魔たちの力が最も活発で盛んになるのが10月なの。
Why do you have that face? It scares me.
ベアトリーチェも来てくれる。そしてね、一緒にマシュマロお菓子食べてマリアも黄金鏡に連れてってもらうの。一緒に魔法のお歌を歌って魔法の呪文を習って魔法陣の書き方を習うの。そ そしてね、ルーンの秘密を習って、早くマリアを立派な魔女にしてもらうの。
I mean, I kind of do want to see that because she's so into it.
あらあら、それは素敵ね。子供は夢があるのが一番よ。ところでローザ、マリアちゃんは今年でいくつになったんだったかしら？
マリア、もうそのお話は終わりにしなさい。
気にしないでローザさん。女の子なら誰だって一度は思い描く夢じゃない。
ありがとうございます。でももうマリアはそういう年を卒業していますので。こら、やめなさいと言ってるでしょ。
Rosa scolded Maria, trying to shut her up before a cheery discussion about black magic earned her the snickers of the relative.
へえ、そいつはなんだかスケールのでかい話だな。ところで、ベアトリーチェって誰だっけ？なんだっけ？聞いた名前だな。
Bador had gone for 6 years and had completely forgotten about the legend of the Rokkenjima witch. However, when he said he didn't know Beatrice's name, Maria's once bright mood soured in an instant. When he saw that, Bador immediately remembered that it was the name of the witch of this island, but the damage had been done. Until Maria's mood improved, she went on and on about many mysterious and fabulous episodes regarding the Golden Witch.
もうよしなさい、マリア。ありがとうね、バトラ君。お話に付き合ってくれて。カノン君、お仕事があるんでしょ？もう行ってちょうだい。ゴーダさん、みんなとりあえず荷物を置きたがってると思うの。悪いんだけど、みんなをゲストハウスへ案内してくれるかしら。
かしこまりました。それでは皆様、ゲストハウスへご案内いたします。
それでは、失礼いたします。
Goto led the relatives, and they began to head towards the guest house. They were eager to set down their luggage and take a breather, so they didn't realize that Rosa and Maria weren't coming with them. Uh-oh. Why not? After watching them leave towards the guest house, Rosa's face changed suddenly. She let go with the hand that had been gripping Maria this whole time. There was a bright red mark there, making it clear how much excessive force she had been using on Maria's slender arm. That hand then slapped against Maria's head, pinched her left ear, and lifted.
魔女の話はするなといつも言ってるでしょうが。それはママとの約束だといつも言っているでしょ。ママ痛い、ママ痛い。
Oh, there she goes again.
痛い。ハロウィンうるさいのよ、あんたは。魔女のお祭り？ケルト人が何よ、黒魔術が何よ、バカじゃないの。あんた9歳よ、9歳。電車であんなに騒ぐから、わざわざ電車降りてまでその蛍光塗料みたいな気持ち悪いお化けマシュマロを買ってやったのよ。遅刻してまであんたに買ってやったのよ。あんた、どこまで私の顔を潰せば気が済むのよ。
As Rosa cursed, she twisted Maria's ear up, almost as though she was about to tear it off. An expression of anguish spread across Maria's face while she frantically stood on her tiptoes, trying to soften the pain in that ear. There's something about the candy. She threw it on the ground and stepped on it over and over. Oh, Maria, it was supposed to be proof of a memory, of a brief span of time when her mother had bought something fun for her. But now, that same mother was grinding it into the ground right in front of her. It was as though his brand had been pushed into Maria's eyes, leaving a mark that could never be erased.
こんな気持ち悪いお菓子が何よ。気持ち悪い、気持ち悪い。あんたがそんなんだから、あんたがそうなんだから。気持ち悪い、気持ち悪い、気持ち悪い。
As she said that, she struck Maria's head over and over again with her palm. She didn't hit Maria's face, because the red swelling wound would stand out. Maria closed her eyes tightly, patiently bearing her mother's violence. No, that wasn't quite it.
帰ってきてママ、帰ってきてママ。助けてママ、助けてママ。悪い魔女に打ち勝って。
She kept bearing Rosa's assault, muttering that over and over.
からその魔女ってのをやめろっつってんのよ。このから。
Rosa, tired from hitting her daughter, breathed so hard her shoulders shook. Maria grasped her hands together, withstanding it, hoping her mother would return soon.
ママ早く帰ってきて。マリアを助けてよママ。悪い魔女をやっつけてよ。
いつまでもそこでそうしていなさい。そしてそこで魔女でもハロウィンでもいつまでもブツブツ一人で行ってればいいのよ。
After hurling those words at Maria, Rosa left in the direction of the guest house, leaving Maria behind. Maria, forgetting even that it was okay to cry, kept staring down at the jack-o'-lantern candy that had been trampled beyond recognition. Aww.
あら、ローザ。どこ行ってたの？
ごめんなさい。バラが素敵だったもので、ついつい。
ローザ、早く荷物を置いてこいよ。兄貴んとこへ挨拶に行こうぜ。
ん？マリアちゃんはどうしたんや？まだ花壇におるんかいな。
ええ。気に入ったバラがあるみたいで、世話をするって言って聞かなくて。しばらくは好きにさせることにしました。
女の子には女の子の世界があったことを、私たちは時には尊重してあげないとね。
そうね。お気遣いをありがとう、キリエ姉さん。ゴーダさん、私たちの部屋はどこ？
ご案内いたします。こちらでございます。お荷物をお持ちいたしましょう。
結構よ。自分で持てます。ありがとう。
Rosa went into her room, guided by Goda. She then closed the door somewhat violently and threw her luggage on top of the bed. She got down on her knees in front of the bed, burying her face in it. For a while, Rosa made as if to shred the sheets with her fingernails, sobbing constantly.
マリア様、大丈夫ですか?
Kanon appeared from behind a thicket after watching Rosa leave. Bad!
平気だよ。
Stop it! You stop right now. Maria gave a creepy laugh, but to Kanon, who had seen the whole thing, it looked like she was enduring as best as she could.
最低のやつだ。あれで母親なんて。
仕方ないよ。その程度の器にはその程度のが入り込む。マリアは全然平気だよ。
What's she talking about? Container? What? Kanon got down on his knees and picked up the trampled candy. It was tragic just looking at it. He thought about dusting it off and returned it to her, but really couldn't do so with it in that condition. Just as he was wondering what to do, he met Maria's gaze. No, that wasn't quite right. Maria was looking at the candy Kanon had picked up. Right now, Maria's heart was surely the same as the candy that had been trampled into a pulp. Kanon realized this, but didn't know what he should do.
そうだ。さっき僕がもらったのと交換してあげるよ。
Kanon remembered that a similar candy he'd received from Maria was in his pocket. Maria stuck out her hand. Kanon thought she was trying to take it, so he held out the candy, but Maria didn't try to grasp it. Then Kanon realized. She was saying, give it back. No matter how tragic and trampled it was, this candy was Maria's. Her mother had bought it for her. No matter how tragic, it had to be this candy and no other. You. If only it were intact enough that it could be fixed by dusting it off. Kanan hung his head.
僕には誇りを払う程度しかできない。ごめん。
Kanan held out the miserable-looking candy Maria wanted. She took it and spoke.
ありがとう。人間には誇りしか払えないけど、魔女には元通りに直すことができるよ。ベアトリーチェなら簡単にね。
マリア様はベアトリーチェ様のことをご存知なのですか
？Except for Badwar, there was no way anyone related to this Shiramai family could have failed to know Beatrice's name. But just now, Maria had bragged about Beatrice to Badwar. She had spoken almost as though she was meeting with Beatrice regularly. Kanan felt a sharp pain inside his left hand, which was curled into a fist. In the past, a witch called Beatrice had appeared to tempt him and Shannon. He had always tried to think of it as a bad dream. However, Shannon insisted that it definitely was a real witch. And then, this summer, the shrine to the local Shinto god was hit by lightning, disappearing without a trace over the span of a single night. He knew about Shannon breaking that mirror, and he remembered that, as the witch departed, she'd said she'd eventually be revived. And now, this girl, who believed absolutely in Beatrice, spoke as though she'd met Beatrice herself. Kanan couldn't suppress a vague sense of foreboding welling up in his heart. For a while, Maria remained silent, as though she could see into Kanan's heart. She should see, is that what I just said? She could see into Kanan's heart. Almost as though she was waiting for a memory of Beatrice to be revived. And then she spoke as though it was a fact.
マリアはね、ベアトリーチェとお友達なの。今日だって会って一緒に遊ぶよ。
遊びますか？
うん。遊ぶよ。一緒にね、魔法のお勉強をするの。
Okay. The face of that witch, whom Kanan had tried to pretend was a bad dream, began to slowly creep into the back of his mind.
"お父様は研究で大変ご多忙と仰せです。残念ながらこちらへはおいでになれないとのことです。
やれやれ、こちとら秋の大忙しの中、日程をつけてはるばる六軒島まで来てるんだぜ。親父も少しは愛想をよくしてもらいたいもんだぜ。
ほんとよね。南條先生、本当に研究や機嫌の問題なの？ベッドから起き上がれないくらいに容体が悪いって言うんじゃないの？
さて、どうでしょうかな。私の口からは何とも。
Nanjo glanced at Natsu. It seemed he thought it wasn't his place to speak without first getting Natsu's approval.
お父様はますますにご健康でいらっしゃいます。寝たきりなどと失礼極まりない。
でも余命3ヶ月なんでしょ？普通に考えれば痩せ衰えてベッドからも起きられないはずよ。でしょ、南條先生？
波の患者ならそうでしょうがな。金蔵さんは並外れた気力をお持ちです。あの気迫にお迎えも恐れて近寄れないのかもしれませんが。
それほどまでにお元気なら少なくとも安心ね。
そこまで元気ならせめて挨拶くらいはさせてほしいもんなんだがな。親族会議ってのは親父の顔を見に来たって意味なんだぜ。これじゃあ何のために来たのかわからねえぜ。
そう言うな。いればいたで心が休まらないといつもぼやくのだろうが。兄弟一同水入らずで今年も全員欠けることなく集まれたことを喜ぼうじゃないかね。
昨年の親族会議でも会えなかったのよ。 血を分けた子供たちが2年ぶりに挨拶したいというのがどうして理解してもらえないのかしら。
挨拶の言葉があるのでしたら私どもがお伝えします。それともエヴァさん、何かお父様にお会いして挨拶以上のお話でもあられるのですか？
いやね、何の話よも
う。予算かエヴァ。夏井さん、堪忍な。エヴァも娘としてお父さんの病状が不安なだけなんや。ちょいと気持ちを汲み取ってな。
その通りだな。エヴァは親父殿が余命を宣告されてから急に親孝行をするようになったじゃないか。なるほど。その姿をぜひ見てもらいたいという気持ちもわからなくな。
何が言いたいのよ。
よせよ姉貴。晩飯までには機嫌を直してくれるよう祈ろうじゃねえか。それに俺たちは到着したばかり。まずは軽く挨拶に訪れただけだぜ。親族会議は親父抜きだってできる。いや、兄弟で意見を統一してからじゃなきゃ話せねえことだっていろいろあるはずだぜ。な、秀吉兄さん。
そうや。ルドルフ君の言う通りや。わしらが全員顔を揃えるのは年に一度しかない。貴重な時間を大事にし、汚い話し合いをせんといかん。
Even though the tea hadn't yet arrived, they were very determined.
でも、その前に本家の素晴らしい調度品に囲まれた客間で、のんびりと紅茶を楽しむゆとりがあってもいいんじゃないかしら。
Kyrie's words seemed to contain a subtle admonition directed at everyone gathered there. They all understood, as they cleared their throats and straightened their neckties, the atmosphere in the room returned to normal for a time.
失礼します。お茶をお持ちいたしました。
よー、シャノンちゃん。ますますべっぴんさんになったな。
Shannon entered the parlor, pushing the serving cart. Everyone decided to relax and enjoy some black tea for the time being. A wonderful aroma began to spread throughout the room. As far as anyone could see, the strained atmosphere from before Shannon's arrival seemed like a lie. Of course, Shannon, who was setting out the tea, probably didn't even notice. Kyrie seemed to laugh faintly at how adult everyone was suddenly acting. Rudolph didn't like it when Kyrie took the initiative and spoke at the family conference. It was his worthless male pride. He probably didn't want to look like a weak man who took advice from his wife. She understood that and did her best to refrain from saying any more than was necessary. So, she separated herself from the circle of siblings who only superficially appeared to be enjoying some time together alone, and casually drank her tea near the window.
あら、ローザさん。兄弟で水入らずなのでは？
ご冗談を。
ごめんなさい。気を悪くしないで。うちの夫に呆れてるだけだから。
Apparently, Rosa hadn't been able to keep up with that on-the-surface friendliness. They'd come here to fight bloodily and dirtily, each trying to grab a part of the inheritance for themselves. She probably didn't like suddenly pretending that they were all chummy. Or maybe she was still too immature for that.
だいぶ風が出てきているようですね。枝葉があんなに揺れて。
もう台風が近くまで来ているのでしょうね。今夜あたりからはだいぶ降るのかしら。
マリアちゃん、この1年で随分立派になりましたね。
そう見えます？未だに自分のお洋服を畳むことすらできないんですよ。
ええ。こんなにも愛情たっぷりなお母さんと一緒なんですもの。心の豊かな子に成長しますよ。
Rosa fell silent. Maybe she was unsure as to what Kyrie meant by that.
私なんて母親失格ですよ。子に生まれる親は選べない。あの子がかわいそうで。
お互い様じゃないですか。親だって生まれる子は選べない。
Rosa bit her lower lip.
どちらが悪いとかじゃなくて、一緒に生きていくんだという気持ちでゆっくり成長を見守ってあげればいいじゃないですか。ローザさんは毎日をマリアちゃんと過ごしてるから小さな変化に気づかないかもしれないけれど、1年ぶりに再会した私たちにはその大きな成長ぶりがよくわかりますよ。
もし本気で言ってくれてるならありがとうございます。
それでは失礼いたします。ご用がありましたらいつでもお呼びつけください。
Shan bowed politely and left the room. Hideyoshi and Rudolph, who had a soft spot for women, watched her go. The atmosphere in the room began to revert back to what it had been right before Shan's visit.
お父様がいらっしゃられないならそれはそれでできる話もあるというものよ。ねえルドルフ。
ああ、そうだな。俺たちははるばるここまで埃の匂いがする紅茶を飲みに来たわけじゃねえぜ。
よかろう。一秒を争ってお前たちがしたいという話を聞こうじゃないか。
やれやれ、たくましい人たちね。早速始めたわ。
私も加わらないといけないわ。あの人たち、私が主張しないと4人兄弟であることをすぐ忘れるから。
あなたも大変ね。ちょっと言葉を選ばなかったかしら。ごめんなさい。
ううん、気にしてません。こちらこそごめんなさい。私たち互いに娘を持つ母親同士なんだから、いっつも会えば変な話ばかりで。
この屋敷の空気のせいよ。ここの空気を嗅ぐといっつも私たちはギスギスし合ってるもの。ローザさんとは親族会議じゃない席で一度ゆっくりお茶でも飲みたいわ。銀座に行きつけの素敵な喫茶店があるの。ぜひ今度招待させて。
ありがとう、キリエさん。その時はぜひ。
いやーね、急に空が暗くなってきたわ。まるでこの部屋の人たちが天気を悪くしてるみたい。もうゴロゴロ鳴ってるわ。あら、ぽつりと来たかしら。
There really were small splashes of rain on the glass of the parlor window. The weather seemed to have worsened faster than expected. Just then, a silent thunderbolt struck inside Rosa's head, and she remembered that her beloved child was out in the rose garden. A normal girl would try to go inside if the weather got bad, but Maria was different. She would sometimes get stubborn and refuse to move if rain or even spears fell from the sky. That's right, I told that child to just stay there doing that forever, didn't I?
いけない、マリア。
Everyone looked back at Rosa when she let out a small scream.
なんだ、どうしたんだね。
ごめんなさい。ちょっと表に行ってきます。すぐ戻ります。
なんだなんだ、どうしたってんだあいつ。
いいじゃない、すぐ戻るわよ。それより始めたら、私たちの本題。そうね、ローザ抜きでも進められる話よ。話を戻しましょ
う。Rosa dashed from the entrance hall into the rose garden. When she opened the door, the wind that hit her was too strong to be called a light breeze, and told her that a typhoon was approaching faster than she'd thought. Just as Kyrie had said, the wind was mixed in with small droplets of rain. There was also a low rumble of thunder. It could start raining any time. Rosa headed for the rose garden. She headed for the place where she had scolded Maria a short while ago. It was almost lunchtime. The children had been told to come to the mansion around lunchtime, so they were probably in the guest house, waiting to be called. Even if Maria didn't come to them, they would surely think I took her to the mansion with me. It wouldn't worry much. After all, she had been with her mother, so there should have been no reason to worry. I was here, and I abandoned my daughter to the worsening weather. I was right. She was still standing stock still, exactly the same way she had been in the place where I had scolded her. Held in her hand was the candy that I'd bought, given her, and then stepped on and crushed. With that gripped in her hand, she stood there as the powerful winds whipped her hair about, tormenting her.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんね、マリア。ママを許して。
ママ、おかえり。マリア、ママが帰ってくるのずっと待ってた。怖い魔女につねられたけど、我慢してママが帰ってくるの泣かずに待ってた。マ
リア、ママを許して。ママを許して。
ママは悪くないの。また悪い魔女に取りつかれただけなの。だから平気。ママ大好き。愛してる。
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。悪い魔女に負けた。許して。
Rosa buried her face in Maria's small chest, crying and begging forgiveness. And once again, those tears dripped down after who knows how many times. If only the brilliant sun had been shining on the two of them, all of their cares would have evaporated, and it might have felt like they could begin anew. However, what surrounded the two of them was the worsening weather. Sadly, there were only fierce winds with occasional thunder. The sound of Maria's sniffling brought Rosa to her senses. If Maria stood exposed to the wind for too long, she'd probably catch a cold.
さあ、マリア。もうすぐお昼よ。ママと一緒にお屋敷に行きましょう。
行かない。
どうして？
Rosa thought she'd already received Maria's forgiveness, so she hadn't imagined Maria would refuse. But that expression on Maria's face didn't look like that of a child resisting her mother. So Rosa couldn't understand why Maria wanted to stand still, pointlessly, as the weather grew even worse. Maria answered that question.
ベアトリーチェがね、もうすぐ来るの。だから待ってるの。
マリア。
Rosa struggled to find words for a moment, then fell silent. They'd only just managed to make up, after all. She chose her words carefully, trying to get Maria to come with her to the mansion without denying the witch outright.
ベアトリーチェが来るの？なら、ここじゃなくて、お屋敷の中で待ちましょう。いつまでもこんな風の中にいたら、風邪をひいてしまうわ。
来る！ベアトリーチェは来る！そしたらね、ベアトリーチェにね、お菓子あげるの。トリックオアトリートするの。ジャックオーランタンのマシュマロお菓子あげて、ハッピーハロウィーンって言うの。
Maria pulled yet another sweet out of her handbag, moaning. Rosa was bewildered and didn't know what to do, as Maria started being difficult again. At that time, there was a sudden blast of thunder. It was probably a sign. A sign that this island had been sealed off by the storm, detached from the common sense and reality. So, after this moment, all common sense would probably cease to apply. The wind blew even stronger, and amidst that blizzard of scattered rose petals, a figure appeared, leaving Rosa unable to imagine that this was a scene from reality. It was probably, no, definitely, fantastical. After all, that shadow of a person was... Oh, new outfit. Hi! Maria dashed over to the shadow. Normally, Rosa would scold her daughter as if she dashed over to someone whom she hadn't seen before and didn't know. But Rosa forgot to do that, was unable to do anything but stand there, stunned.
久しぶりよ。元気であったか？
マリアは元気。魔女は風邪をひかない。
魔女は呪いにて風邪をひかせはするが、自らがひいてはなんとも間抜けな話よ。せいぜい自らが風邪をひくことなどないよ。これからも精進するがいい。
Rosa couldn't have known the name of the woman who was happily spoiling Maria. However, Maria had called it out in the beginning when the woman appeared. So, even though Rosa had never met her, even though the woman still hadn't introduced herself, Rosa was able to know her name. However, that name held a special meaning on Rokkenjima and in the Shiramaya family. There's no way something that stupid could be.
ベアトリーチェ、ハッピーハロウィン。ほら、買ったの。ベアトにもあげる。
ハッピーハロウィン。ほう、これをわらわにとな。天国にも地獄にも行けず、煉獄の闇にてさまよう男の唯一の明かりも、こうして人の世とも人ならざる者との世とも切り離された今のこの島で、これほどふさわしい歌詞はないかもしれぬな。マリア、それはどうしたのか。
The witch noticed the sweet Maria was grasping. It was Maria's candy, which had been stomped on by Rosa until it reached this pitiful state.
おお、踏んづけて潰れちゃった。ベアトは元に戻せる？
Maria didn't go so far as to say that it was her mother who'd stepped on it. However, for some reason, when the witch saw that candy, she looked at Rosa and grinned. A chill went down Rosa's spine, as though this gaze was staring straight in.
たやすいことよ。貸すがよい。
Fix the candy! Maria held the candy out gleefully. Rosa could do nothing but watch, stunned. How did this person plan to trick Maria, somehow undoing the fact that the candy had been pitifully trampled? Maria looked as though she believed it could be fixed good as new. Without real magic, there was no way such a thing could be possible.
これは見事に潰れているな。さあさあマリア、目を閉じて思い出してごらんなさい。本当はあんなにも素敵なお菓子だったから。思い出の中のお菓子はいつもふっくら。だからあなたも思い出してごらんなさい。本当はどんなお菓子だったのか。
Along with those strange words, spoken as though singing an improvised folk song, the witch threw the sweet into the air. Maria was closing her eyes and remembering, just as the witch had told her to. What shape had that crushed candy really had? Therefore, only Rosa saw that scene. The sweet that had been thrown into the air burst into a gold color. No, that wasn't it. Those were golden butterflies. It scattered into several golden butterflies, and they began to gather in the witch's hand, which was held up to the sky. And as she did this, unbelievably, it returned to its beautiful original form, no different from what it had been bought. Only Rosa and the witch witnessed that scene. Unable to comprehend what was occurring right before her eyes, Rosa stood with her mouth hanging open, completely forgetting to shut it.
もう目を開けてよいぞ。受け取るがよい。これでそなたの歌詞も元通りだ。
ベアトリーチェはいつもすごいすごい。
Oh yay. There was a stark contrast between Rosa's shock and Maria's innocent joy. Was that what the witch was laughing at? A smile floated to Beatrice's face, one different from the smile she'd shown Maria.
わらわの顔が何かそうまじまじと見られては穴も開こうぞ。
ごめんなさい。
Those words triggered something very clearly in Rosa's mind. Rosa knew this face. She knew it from the portrait of the witch. But no, wait, could this mystery woman really be?
マリア、この歌詞の代わりに、そなたにはこれを与えよう。
おお、手紙？
Another letter? The witch pulled a western envelope from her pocket and gave it to Maria. However, when Maria made to open it, the witch stopped her.
ならぬ。それを開けるときはすぐに訪れるが、それ大事に持っているがよい。そなたを黄金鏡へ誘う招待状と。
黄金鏡？や と連れてってくれるんだね。
大事にしまっておくのだぞ。誰にも見せてはならぬ。
守る。魔女との約束は絶対に守る。
そして
私
She probably hadn't imagined that the witch would speak to her, too. Rosa was bewildered by the second Western envelope, which was thrust before her. She'd seen this type of envelope before. There could be no mistake. It was one of Kinzo's special envelopes. Used when he wrote with his own hand in burying the Shiramaya family crest. It was sealed with red sealing wax. And furthermore, it had a mark that seemed to have been made by the head's ring. In other words, even without asking what was inside this letter, Rosa knew that this woman, whom Marita called Beatrice, was trusted enough to be placed in charge of a personal letter of the current Shiramaya head.
4兄弟の誰でもよかった。だが、ここでそなたと出会ったということは、金蔵のルーレットがそなたを選んだということなのだろう。そしてその中身を、全兄弟の揃う晩餐の席上で読み上げよ。
Rosa looked back and forth several times between the witch's face and the envelope that had been handed to her. Today was the family conference, and the biggest object of discussion would be the inheritance problem. So she had joined together with Eva and Rudolph, and they planned to force a certain condition on Kraus to try and extort several 100 million yen cash out of him. It was as if the witch could see through all of that. What does she intend to announce when all the siblings are gathered, and with a personal envelope that no one but the Shiramaya head can use?
Maria, 天気が崩れるぞ。ゲストハウスへ戻り、昼を待つがよい。それではローザ、後ほど会おう。その席で改めて名乗らせてもらおうぞ。
Bye. The witch turned her back to her, laughing, and she began to head towards the mansion with an air of composure. Maria energetically called out and watched her go, then began to dash toward the guest house, leaving Rosa behind, as though she wanted to inform the other cousins of her unfortunate meeting with the witch as soon as she could. At last, Rosa was left alone in the rose garden as the winds grew stronger, unable to do anything but pray that what had happened was just a daydream. Weird. Pretty weird. Well then. Okay. When the witch reached the entrance hall, Genji could be seen here. Genji welcomed the guest approaching from the entrance hall with a respectful bow.
お待ちいたしておりました。ベアトリーチェ様。
久しぶりだな、源氏。老いたではないか。
どれほどに老いようとも、家具は家具らしく。最後ま。
晴れの妻が、お前に嫉妬したことも懐かしい。金蔵は元気か？
大変お元気にございます。
The witch probably laughed because she knew Kinzo's own doctor had announced that Kinzo didn't have long to live. However, if anyone actually looked at Kinzo and noticed his vigor, which wasn't at all what you'd expect from someone nearing the end of his life, they might easily call that doing extremely well. Maybe that's what the witch was laughing at.
挨拶に行こうではないか。30年ぶりに互いに呪いの言葉を吐き合うもよかろう。
As the witch grinned, she started walking, leaving Genji behind. Her gait was like that of a family member who knew the inside of the mansion well. Genji followed her in the manner of one who served her. At that time, Kairi came out of the parlor. She'd probably gone out to fix her makeup or something. And when she saw Genji following a witch, she was surprised, although her expression did not change. The guest for Kinzo had arrived, despite him being almost dead, on the day of the family conference when the fate of the inheritance was to be decided. Furthermore, this person was familiar enough with the Shiramaya family household that Genji was following after. Kairi immediately realized that this person she had never met before was deeply important. Kairi and the witch's eyes met. Realizing that it would be rude to pretend not to notice, she greeted the witch.
はじめまして。ルドルフの5歳だったか。
さようでございます。ルドルフ様の今の奥方様であられます。キリエ様でございます。
From this exchange, Kairi realized that this was a guest of fairly high rank, even amidst the Shiramaya family. Amir Shire family, no. Shiramaya family. And the fact that this was a guest on that level, coupled with her resemblance to the portrait in the entrance hall, made Kairi's eyes instantly open wide. Here we go again. Okay. Crazy. Ooh. Ah. Okay. Good picture.
はじめまして。キリエと申します。初対面でしょうか。もし以前に挨拶をしていたなら、名前を忘れてしまって申し訳ございません。うすうすは想像がついているくせに、わらわにあえて名乗らそうというのか。
Kairi thought she'd give an associable and humble greeting. Her expression grew slightly cloudy at that openly oppressive response. At any rate, this didn't seem to be a person she could grow to like. What if Kairi's guesses were correct? This witch probably held a vital key to what her own husband was most interested in. Something that couldn't help but influence tonight's family conflicts. So without shooting back her retort, Kairi silently watched her go up the stairs to the second floor, with Genji falling behind. So, when someone tapped her shoulder from behind, she was so surprised she almost choked. It was Natsuki.
キリエさん、このようなところに立ち尽くして、いかがなさいましたか？ごめんなさい。ちょっと魔女の肖像画に見とれていただけです。黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェですか。今日の後宮家の復興は、彼女が授けた黄金がなければ成し遂げられお父様らしい幻想的なお話ですね。
Natsuki spoke in a perfectly ordinary way. It was the sort of comment you'd expect from someone convinced that the thought of a witch existing was ridiculous, no more than another of Kinzo's ramblings. However, for some reason, that point of view didn't seem quite right to Kairi now. Just a moment ago, she herself had seen the Golden Witch come in from the entrance hall and climb up the stairs. So, Natsuki's words made it feel as though someone was trying to deny the existence of that person, or else make it seem like she was never there to begin with.
ごめんなさい。少し頭痛がする気がして、ちょっと休もうと思います。あら、そうですか？なら、良い頭痛薬がありますよ。用意させましょう。
Okay, now. The hallway in front of Kinzo's study was filled with the scent of sweet poison peculiar to that green liquor. Genji, who was completely used to it, did not grimace. And the Golden Witch didn't grimace either. Witch. Oh. You're a Golden Witch now. How long has he been in there since last he left?
数年になるかと思います。
Several years.
それほどまでに。わらわを籠の鳥としたいか。哀れな。それを願うそなたが、書斎の亡霊ではないか。それに気づけぬとは、哀れな男。
あなた様と再びお会いする日までは、おそらく、文字通り亡霊となっても、研究。
愛か狂気か猛襲か。それも講じれば魔力となるか。悲しき魔術師よ。
The witch grasped the doorknob to the study. When she did, there was a sound like that of flesh burning and splitting open. It was the sound of the doorknob literally burning the witch's hand.
ベアトリーチェ様。
なんだこれは。魔除けか。
あやつめ、こんなものに頼らなければおのがみも保てぬというのか。
その扉はベアトリーチェ様にはおつらいものと伺っております。私がお開けいたしましょうか。
いや、よい。あやつが勝てばわらわは永遠のカゴの鳥。あやつが負ければ愛に狂い全てを失った哀れな魔術師の生涯が笑い草となって残るだけ。もはや金蔵もわらわさえもゲーム盤に並べられた駒に過ぎぬ。あとはルーレットの目が勝敗を分けるだけよ。ルーレットが目を見せるまでわらわと金蔵が再会する必要はない。
The witch looked at her hand, which was beginning to heal bit by bit, even though it had been horribly burned.
あるいはそのための魔除けなのか。なるほど。それもまた潔し。すべては今や金蔵のゲーム盤の上よ。気に入ったぞ金蔵。そなたとのゲームわらわに恋焦がれすべての生涯を投げ出したローマ術師の最後のギャンブル。その散りざまを楽しませてもらうぞ。
Okay then. Is it? I don't want to go a little longer.
失礼いたします。昼食をお持ちいたしました。
入れ。
失礼いたします。
After receiving approval, Kanan entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. The servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean, so that it could be used at any time. Even so, guests would not be allowed into this room no matter who they were. That's why, at some point, the servants had started calling it the VIP room, which was supposed to be set aside only to welcome the special person Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. And today, Kanan realized that this was absolutely true. He entered the room. The blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside, the rain was no longer falling weakly. As she looked out at the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to over several days for today's feast, as she saw the winds and rain ravage it, was she struck by some sentimental feelings? Kanan was not able to tell anything more from her back, which faced him.
お食事の用意をさせていただき、ベアトリーチェ様。
Kanan went out of his way to call out the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know. He wanted to know if the witch who tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Kanan was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew that he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around.
良い匂いだな。どうやらクラウスは良い料理人を入れたと見える。
はい。近年入ったゴーダという料理人です。
料理の腕が良きことは何にも勝るものよ。美食は人の世で生きる快楽の山中をなす。千年を飽きぬにはこれを欠かさぬが秘訣よ。
Kanan and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly, this was clearly the witch from that day, Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form, and had arrived openly as a guest through the entranceway.
ベアトリーチェ様。
久しぶりよの。家具のカノン。
お久しぶりでございます。
Kanan tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being. But the visit of this suspicious witch made dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering that today was the family conference.
何をしに現れたのかと気が気でならぬと見える。そうであろう。
Kanan didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds, so it's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. But of course, she could read even his inner resistance. So the witch giggled at Kanan's childish defiance.
金蔵との最後の約束を果たしに来た。
親方様との最後の約束。
わらわは金蔵に山をなす黄金を貸し付けた。それを金蔵が放棄するとき、わらわは利子をつけて返却を受けることになっており、今宵それをもらい受けに来た。
僕には何の話かわかりません。
However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Whatever this witch had to say couldn't be anything good.
違いない。魔女の話にろくなものはないぞ。そなたは正しい。されど魔女とハサミは使いようだ。ソロモン王のように偉業を成し遂げる者も時にはおる。最も多くの場合は童話が語るようにろくな目には合わんがな。しかし金蔵わらわの利子の取り立てすらも自らの儀式に取り込みおった。わらわをも超えるとてつもない大魔術師か。さもなければ狂気に取りつかれたただの知れ者か。面白い。実に面白い。
Kanan couldn't guess what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have been the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. And in the back of his mind, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface. One power, nothing in exchange. I exist. For sure.
まさかお前は
懐かしき故郷を貫く鮎の川、黄金鏡を目指す者よ。これを下りて鍵を探せ。
The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. It was something he remembered hearing.
それはまさか魔女の碑文。
There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had put on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting that epitaph.
カノン、家具である貴様なら金蔵から聞いていよう。すべてを黄金鏡へ返す日がやってきたのだ。喜ぶがいい。お前の恥辱にまみれた家具の日々がようやく終わる時がやってきたのだ。お前はそれをずっと望んできたはず。自らに存在価値を持たぬ家具にとってただ存在するだけの日々は苦痛に他ならない。魂ある者にとってうつしおは固執すべきものだが
Complicated expressions flitted across Kanan's face. This was the day of release that Kanan had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden. For some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by the witch as she informed him of the coming of this long-awaited day of rest. Kanan couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling.
なぜに喜ばぬ。それともうつしおに何かの未練があるというのか。
家具の分際で。
未練などない。僕は家具だから。
貴様は実に模範的な家具だな。よいよい。しかし何の未練もないとはつくづく面白みのない。
未練こそがお前の快楽だというのか。
その通り。1000年も生きると大抵の魔女は生き飽きる。わらわは退屈から逃れるために人間たちの運命にブランデーや果実を練り込み、オーブンの中で苛烈な運命に踊る人間たちのなんと面白きこと。
Side of an oven.
わらわはこの方面にかけてはちと知られていてな。わらわの料理の腕を見に、時には遠方から珍客が見物に来ることすらあるくらいよ。言っても家具ごときには理解できぬか。
Kanan couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized that this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it whenever some harm befell it. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture does nothing but serve until the day they're released from the real world. To furniture like that, the witch who had come to release them from everything was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Kanan should have been waiting impatiently for it had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind, and for some reason, Jessica's face did too. Kanan bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do. Even though he thought he'd known that, even though he complained about Shannon's relationship, why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? He felt a little shameful at his own naivety. And to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. She has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of the day when all will return to nothingness. Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this witch. Why? Because that would be more interesting. Nothing more.
シャノンは待ちわびていたはずの日に知ってはならない感情を持ち、とても辛い思いを強いられるだろう。僕たち家具を、そしてシャノンにその日を受け入れがたくしたお前を憎む。
お前もシャノン同様に未練に苦しませてやりたかったぞ。しかしお前は愚直に家具であり続け、わらわに籠絡されることもなかった。しかしシャノンを慕いすぎたようだな。シャノンの未練がそなたの未練となる。それはわらわへの憎悪へと変わるのか。わらわを殺したくば殺してみるがよい。金蔵の家具ならばその程度の力は持っていよう。しかしわらわを殺せば家具どもに安息の日は永遠に訪れぬぞ。そなたにそれが耐えられるのか。わらわによる解放を本当に拒むことができるのか。ひざまずけ。
何を。
ひざまずき、わらわの靴に口づけをするがよい。さもなくばわらわはこの場を立ち去ろうぞ。帰りて永遠に姿を現さぬ。のう、カノン。 そなたはそれに耐えられるのか？黄金鏡の扉が開かれれば、そなたの苦難に満ちた家具の生は終わろう。望むならば人間としての生を与えてもよい。さすればもはやジェシカとは対等。貴様も知りたいはずだ、恋の味が。隠そうとも知っておるぞ。甘き恋の沼にて溺れるシャノンを見て、そなたは羨ましがっている。恋の味を知りたくてうずうずしておるのよ。
やめろ、やめろ。僕を再び籠絡するつもりか。僕はお前を楽しませるためのおもちゃになり果てたりしない。
ほう、ならばシャノンで満足するとしよう。まいた種はそなただけではないのでな。時には実を結ばぬ果実もある。鍵を手にせし者は以下に従いて黄金鏡へ旅立つべし。第一の晩に鍵の選びし6人を生贄に捧げよ。第二の晩に残されし者は寄り添う2人を引き裂け。
The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against Kanan.
わからぬか？
Threat against Kanan. You not
この
understand?
碑文の儀式を成し遂げるには、第二の晩に寄り添う2人を生贄に捧げねばならぬ。寄り添う2人は誰でもよい。夫婦でもよいし、恋人同士でもよい。誰を選ぶかは儀式のルールにのっとり、わらわが気まぐれに決めてよいことになっている。今のシャノンならこれほどふさわしい第二の晩の生贄もないとは思わぬか？
卑劣な。
Kanan realized something. Until today, he thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, when Shannon was in pain, Kanan shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, differently like Kanan, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love, no, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, and forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate, for no reason other than that it was amusing to her. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this, so that she could make Kanan, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though he had tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her, he had only made things more amusing to her. After all, it was furniture. No, a toy. They were nothing but toys meant only to distract her from boredom. From her boredom.
どうするカノン？ひざまずけばシャノンを生贄に選ぶことを控えんこともないぞ。お前のような玩具を一度屈服させてみたかった。
Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered at Kanan and laughed indecently. That's right, she predicted Kanan's submission even before he made that decision himself. Kanan chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who had given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. That was why. Kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Kanan to make. When his quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe, Beatrice let a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. At that moment, the witch who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years was completely filled with the evil emotions she looked for. Huh. Crazy. Yeah, that's good enough for now. Bye!